Okay, I am live. Magandang gabi po sa mga kapanood ng video ito. Magandang araw sa mga manunood sa araw. At itong video ito ay purely reading of Republic Act 4670, which is the Magna Carta for public school teachers. So, ang batas na ito is protection ito ng ito ay yung batas na ginawa para sa mga public school teachers po. So, the intention of this is para magkaroon po, para maiparating natin sa mga kababayan natin or sa mga kapatid natin na school teachers, para alam nila ang mga protection nila, alam nila ang mga karapatan nila at limitasyon po nila. So, check ko lang muna how's my audio. Kasi baka magbabasa na naman ako mamaya nang wala akong audio. Okay. Check ko lang.
How's my audio?
Okay. Checking my audio.
Magbabasa na naman ako mamaya nang wala akong audio.
Okay. So far, okay yung aking audio. So, okay. Alright. Okay, so alright. Okay, so alright ang aking audio. Now, let's go to proceed to the reading of Republic Act 4670 or 4670, or it is titled as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. Itong batas na ito ay created June 18, 1966. So, allow me to share the screen that I am reading. Okay. Yan, okay. So, nakalagay dito, Republic Act number 4670, created June 18, 1966. So, the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. Be enacted by the Senate of the Philippines in Congress assembled. Number 1, Declaration of Policy or Coverage. Section 1, Declaration of Policy. It is hereby declared to be the policy of this Act to promote and improve the social and economic status of public school teachers, their living and working conditions, their terms of employment and career prospects, in order that they may be compared favorably with existing opportunities in other walks of life, attract and retain in the teaching profession more people with the proper qualifications. It be recognized that advance in education depends on the qualifications and ability of the teaching staff, and that education is an essential factor in the economic growth of the nation as a productive investment of vital importance. Section 2, Title or Definition. This act shall be known as Magna Carta of Public School Teachers, and shall apply to all public school teachers except those in the professional staff or of state colleges and university. As used in this act, the term teacher shall mean persons engaged in classroom teaching in any level of instruction on full-time basis, including guidance counselors, school librarians, industrial art or vocational instructors, and all other persons performing supervisory and administrative functions in all schools, colleges, and universities operated by the government or its political subdivisions, but shall not include school nurses, school physicians, school dentists, and other school employees. So, uh, second, recruitment and career. Okay.
So,
Check ko lang muna ulit yung ano. Okay. Section 3, Recruitment and Qualification. Recruitment policy with respect to the selection and appointment of teachers shall be clearly designed by the Department of Education, provided, however, that effective upon the approval of this act, the following shall constitute the minimum educational qualifications for teacher applicants. A. For teachers in the kindergarten and elementary grades, bachelor's degree in elementary education or BS-ED. B. For teachers of the secondary schools, bachelor's degree in education or its equivalent with a major and a minor, or a bachelor's degree in arts or science with at least 18 professional units in education. Letter C. For teachers of secondary vocational and two-year technical courses, bachelor's degree in the field of specialization with at least 18 professional units in education. Letter D. For teachers of courses on the collegiate level other than vocational, master's degree with a specific area of specialization. Provided further that in the absence of applicants who possess the minimum educational qualifications as herein above provided, the school superintendent may appoint under a temporary status applicants who do not meet the minimum qualifications. Provided further that should teacher applicants, whether they possess the minimum educational qualifications or not, be required to take competitive examinations, preference in making appointments shall be in the order of their respective ranks, said competitive examinations, and provided finally, the results of the examination shall be made public and applicant shall be furnished with his score and rank in said examinations. Section 4. Probationary period. When recruitment takes after adequate training and professional preparation, any school recognized by the government, no probationary period preceding regular appointment shall impose if the teacher possesses the appropriate civil service eligibility. Provided, however, there were, due to exigencies of the service, it is necessary to employ teacher a person who possesses the minimum educational qualifications herein above set forth but lacks the appropriate civil service eligibility, such person shall be appointed on a provisional status and shall undergo a period of probation for not less than 1 year from and after the date of his provisional appointment. Section 5. Tenure of office. Stability on employment and security of tenure shall be assured the teachers as provided under existing laws. Subject subject to the provisions of Section 3 hereof, teachers appointed on a provisional status for lack of necessary civil service eligibility shall be extended permanent appointment for the position he is holding after having rendered at least 10 years of continuous, efficient, and faithful service in such position. Number 6, consent for transfer. Transportation expenses, except for costs and as herein otherwise provided, no teacher shall be transferred without his consent from one station to another. Section 6 ha. Where the exigencies of the service require the transfer teacher from one station to another, such transfer may be effected by the school superintendent who shall previously notify the teacher concerned of the transfer and reason of or reasons thereof. Therefore, if the teacher believes there is no justification for the transfer, he may appeal his case to the director of public schools or the director of vocational education as the case may be. pending his appeal and decision thereon, his transfer shall be held in abeyance, provided, however, that no transfers whatever shall be made 3 months before any local or national election. Necessary transfer expenses of the teacher and his family shall be paid for by the government and if his transfer is finally approved. Section 7. Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers. Within 6 months from the approval of this act, the Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare a code of professional conduct for public school teachers. A copy of the code shall be furnished each teacher, provided, however, that where this is not possible by reason or inadequate fiscal resources of the Department of Education, as at least 3 copies of the same code shall be deposited with the office of the school's principal or head teacher, where they may be accessible for use by the teachers. Section 8. Safeguards in disciplinary procedure. Every teacher shall enjoy equitable safeguards at each stage of any disciplinary procedure and shall have a. The right to be informed in writing of the charges. B. The right to full access to the evidence in the case. C. The right to defend himself and to be defended by a representative of his choice and or by his organization, adequate time being given to the teacher for the preparation of his defense. And D. The right to appeal to clearly designated authorities. No publicity shall be given to any disciplinary action being taken against a teacher during the pendency of his case. Section 9. Administrative Charges. The administrative charges against a teacher shall be heard initially by a committee composed of the corresponding school superintendent of the division or a duly authorized representative who should at least have the rank of a division supervisor, where the teacher belongs as chairman, a representative of the local, or in its absence, any existing provincial or national teachers organization and a supervisor of the division, he last to be designated by the Director of Public Schools. The committee shall submit its findings and recommendations to the Director of Public Schools within 30 days from the termination of the hearings, provided, however, where the school superintendent is a complainant or an interested party. All the members of the committee shall be appointed by the Secretary of Education. Section 10. Okay, let me check muna kung okay pa ba yung audio ko.
For 4670.
Okay, Section 10. No discrimination. There shall be no discrimination whatsoever in entrance to the teaching profession or during its exercise or in the termination of services based on based on other than professional consideration. So, Section 10 dito na bibilong sa sitwasyon natin. No discrimination. Take note, dear teachers. Section 11, Married Teachers. Whenever possible, the proper authorities shall take all steps to enable married couples, both of whom are public school teachers, to be employed in the same locality. Section 12, Academic Freedom. Teachers shall enjoy academic freedom in the discharge of their professional duties, particularly with regard to teaching and classroom methods. Okay. Um, Next, hours of work and remuneration. Section 13, Teaching Hours. Any teacher engaged in actual classroom instruction shall not be required to render more than 6 hours of actual classroom teaching may which shall be so scheduled as to give him time for the preparation and correction of exercises and other incidental to his normal teaching duties, provided, however, that where the exigencies of the service so require, any teacher may be required to render more hours but not exceeding 8 hours of actual loom teaching a day upon payment of additional compensation at the same rate as his regular remuneration plus at least 25% of his basic pay. Section 14. Additional compensation. Notwithstanding any provision of existing law to the contrary, co-curricula and out-of-school activities and any other activities outside of what is defined as normal duties of any teacher shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 20% of his regular remuneration after the teacher has completed at least 6 hours of actual classroom teaching a day. In the case of other teachers or school officials not engaged in actual classroom instruction, any work performed in excess of 8 hours a day shall be paid an additional compensation for at least 20% of their regular remuneration. The agencies utilizing the services of teachers shall pay the additional compensation required under this section. Education authorities shall refuse to allow the rendition of services of teachers for other government agencies without the assurance that the teachers shall be paid the remuneration provided for under this section. Section 15. Criteria for salaries. Teachers' salaries shall correspond to the following criteria. A. They shall compare favorably with those paid in other occupations requiring equivalent or similar qualifications, training, and abilities. B. They shall be such as to ensure teachers a reasonable standard of life for themselves and their families. And C. They shall be properly graded so as to recognize the fact that certain positions require higher qualifications and greater responsibility than others, provided, however, that the general salary scale shall be such that the relation between the lowest and highest salary paid in the profession will be of reasonable order. Narrowing of salary scale shall be achieved by raising the low end of the salary scales relative to the upper end. Section 16. Salary scale. Salary scales of teachers shall provide for a gradual progression from a minimum to a maximum salary by means of regular increment granted automatically after 3 years, provided that efficiency rating of the teacher concerned is at least satisfactory. The progression from the minimum to the maximum of the salary scale shall not extend over a period of 10 years. Section 17. Equality in salary scales. The salary scales of teachers whose positions are held by the city, municipal district, or provincial government shall not be less than those provided for teachers of the national government. Section 18. Cost of living allowance. Teachers' salaries shall, at the very least, keep pace with the rise in the cost of living by the payment of a cost of living allowance which shall automatically follow changes in a cost of living index. The Secretary of Education shall, in consultation with the proper government entities, recommend to Congress at least annually the appropriation of the necessary funds for the cost of living allowances of teachers employed by the national government. The determination of the cost of living allowances by the Secretary of Education shall, upon approval of the President of the Philippines, be binding on the city, municipal, or provincial government for the purposes of calculating cost of living allowances of teachers under its employ. Section 19. Special Hardship Allowances. In areas in which teachers are exposed to hardship, such as difficulty commuting to the place of work or other hazards peculiar to the place of employment, as, as determined by the Secretary of Education, they shall be compensated special hardship allowances equivalent to at least 25% of their monthly salary. Section 20. Salaries to be paid in legal tender. Salaries of teachers shall be paid in legal tender of the Philippines or in its equivalent in checks or treasury warrants, provided, however, that such checks or treasury warrants shall be cashable in any national, provincial, city or municipal treasurer's office or any banking institutions operating under the laws of the Republic of the Philippines. Section 21. Deductions prohibited. No person shall make any deduction whatsoever from the salaries of teachers except under specific authority of law authorizing such deductions, provided, however, that upon written authority executed by the teacher concerned, first, lawful dues and fees owing to the Philippine Public School Teachers Association, and second, premiums properly due on insurance policies shall be considered deductible. Okay. Fourth, the health measures and injury benefits. Section 22, medical examination and treatment. Compulsory medical examination shall be provided free of charge for all teachers before they take up teaching and shall be repeated not less than once a year during the teacher's professional life. See? Dito pumapasok ang ano. Where medical examination show that medical treatment or hospitalization is necessary, same shall be provided free by the government entity paying the salary of the teachers. In regions where there is scarcity of medical facilities, teachers may obtain elsewhere the necessary medical care with the right to be reimbursed for their traveling expenses by the government entity concerned in the first paragraph of the section. Section 23. Compensation for injuries. Teachers be protected against the consequences of employment injuries in accordance with existing laws. The effects, the physical and nervous strain on the teacher's health shall be recognized as a compensable occupational in accordance with existing laws. Okay, panglima, leave and retirement benefits. Okay. Section 24. Study leave. In addition to the leave privileges now enjoyed by teachers in the public schools, they shall be entitled to study leave not exceeding one school year after 7 years of service. Such leave shall be granted in accordance with a schedule set by the Department of Education. During the period of such leave, the teachers shall be entitled to at least 60% of their monthly salary, provided, however, that no teacher shall be allowed to accumulate more than 1 year study leave unless he needs an additional semester to finish his thesis for a graduate study in education or allied courses. Provided further that no compensation shall be due the teacher after the first year of such leave. In all cases, the study leave period shall be counted for seniority and pension purposes. Okay? The compensation allowed for 1 year study leave is herein provided shall be subject to the condition that the teacher takes the regular study load and passes at least 75% of his courses. Study leave or more than 1 year may be permitted by the Secretary of Education but without compensation. Mhm. Section 25. Indefinite leave. An indefinite sick leave of absence shall be granted to teachers when the nature of the illness demands a long treatment that will exceed 1 year at least. Uh-huh. Will exceed 1 year at least. Section 26. Salary increase upon retirement. Public school teachers having fulfilled the age and service requirements of the applicable retirement laws shall be given one range salary raised upon retirement, which shall be the basis of the computation of the lump sum of the retirement pay and the monthly benefits thereafter. 6. Teachers' Organization. Section 27. Freedom to organize. Public school teachers need the right to freely and without previous authorization both to establish and to join organizations of their choosing, whether local or national, to further and defend their interests. Section 28. Discrimination against teachers prohibited. The rights established in the immediately preceding section shall be exercised without any interference or coercion. Mhm. It shall be unlawful for any person in commit any acts of discrimination against teachers which are calculated to a. Make the employment of a teacher subject to the condition that he shall not join in an organization or shall relinquish memberships in an organization. Letter B. To cause the dismissal of otherwise prejudice a teacher by reason of his membership in an organization or because of participation in organization activities outside school hours or with the consent of the proper school authorities within school hours, and C. To prevent him from carrying out the duties laid upon him by his position in the organization or to penalize him for an action undertaken in that capacity. Section 29. National Teachers Organizations. National teachers' organizations shall be consulted in the formulation of national educational policies and professional standards and in the formulation of national policies governing the social security of the teachers. Okay? Okay, number 7. Administration and Enforcement. Section 30. Hold on. Okay. Section 30. Rules and Regulations. The Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare the necessary rules and regulations to implement the provisions of his Act. Rules and regulations issued pursuant to this section shall take effect 30 days after publication in a newspaper of general circulation by such other means as the Secretary of Education deems reasonably sufficient to give interested parties general notice of such issuance. Section 31. Budgetary Estimates. The Secretary of Education all submit to Congress annually the necessary budget estimates to implement the provisions of the Act concerning the benefits wherein granted to public school teachers under the employ of the national government. Section 32, penal provision. A person who shall willfully interfere with, restrain, or coerce any teacher in the exercise of his rights guaranteed by this act, or who shall in any other manner commit any act to defeat any of the provisions of this act, shall, upon conviction, be punished by a fine of not less than 100 pesos, not more than 1,000 pesos, or by imprisonment in the discretion of the court. If the offender is a public official, the court shall order his dismissal from the government service. This is good. Section 33, Repealing Clause. All acts or parts of acts, executive orders, and their implementing rules inconsistent with the provision of this act are hereby repealed, amended, or modified accordingly. Section 34, Separability Clause. If any provision of this act is declared invalid, the remainder of this act or any provision not affected thereby shall remain in force and in effect. Section 35. This act shall take effect upon its approval. This is approved June 18, 1966. So, yun po ang Republic Act for 670, Magna Carta of the Public School Teachers. So kung narinig po ninyo ang mga clause doon, may part doon ng rights ng teachers at sa protection po nila. So sa mga teachers na nagigipit at ginigipit ng mga government employees din na andyan sa clause na ito, nandiyan nakalagay kung ano mang pwedeng penalty doon sa mga nanggigipit po sa inyo. Kaya wag po matakot, dear teachers, alamin ang inyong rights at alamin ang mga legal process para paano maproteksyonan ang inyong mga sarili against your superiors, against those in higher level ng department ninyo. So hanggang sa muli po, dito na lang muna natin tatapusin itong pagbabasa natin ng Republic Act 4670. Sa makapanood nito, please share po ninyo ito para marami pa pong mga teachers ang pwedeng maproteksyonan, alam nila ang protection para sa kanila. So hanggang sa muli, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat at maraming salamat sa makapanood itong video.